Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I got my buddy Lewis here. He brought his Pontiac Firebird. We're going to be changing out the upstream and downstream O2 sensors. So let's go ahead and get started. Now in order to complete this video, these are the items that you will need. You will need a ratchet with a socket to remove O2 sensors. Now you have a couple different ones here. You have this kind here, and then you have this one here. Either one of those will work, so whatever works better for you, but you will need one of those. It's a 7/8 inch socket. You can also use a wrench, I guess, if need be, but it's always good to have the right things. Breaker bar is not a bad idea either. Sometimes if they're on there really tight and seized on there, you may need a breaker bar. And then last but not least, you will need your replacement sensors. Now with the Pontiac Firebird, it only gets 3 sensors. You have 2 upstream and 1 downstream, which is a little bit different than the average vehicles where you have 1 upstream and downstream for each bank. This one has 2 banks, but you only have 1 downstream. Now, I highly recommend getting American-made parts. What I have here are the genuine GM parts, made in USA. When you're dealing with O2 sensors, you want to avoid getting the cheap stuff from overseas because you will have issues a lot of times with them not being tweaked properly to spec. So it does pay to go a little bit more and get the right product. Now, these are the part numbers. I will put them along the bottom. The upstream part number, if you're getting the GM genuine part, is 197-78958. The downstream is 191-78924. So these are the items that you need. So let's head over and get with it. You can get to them here from the top. If you come in on the passenger side, you'll see it all the way down there. And then if we go to the driver's side, well, and then the harness is right up here on top, or that, let's see, you can, it's kind of tucked back here, but right there where that blue clip is the harness, and then the sensor, and there's the sensor down there. So if we go to the driver's side, you can see it. See if I can, there it is, all the way back there. So you can get to them from the top. Let's head underneath and I'll show you what it looks like on the bottom and where the downstream is. We are underneath right now on the driver's side, and if you look up right here on the exhaust, there's the sensor right here. You can see it. So it's easily accessible from the bottom as well, so it's really up to you, whatever's easier. But I'll probably just do it from the bottom because you have more access to get the socket around it. Let's head over to the one on the passenger side, which would be bank 2, and see how that one looks. And here's bank 2 on the passenger side. That one's also easily accessible here from underneath as well. Just got to make sure that you get the car up in the air so you get enough clearance to get in there. And let's go look at the downstream one next. So coming down from the front, let's see here, there's your catalytic converter, and you can see your downstream sensor is mounted right on the side, and that's the only downstream. So those are the 3 sensors that you have. So we're in the car now, and I'm going to show you, the driver was getting multiple error codes with the check engine light, and we had checked them already. He had like 17 codes, all pertaining to the O2 sensors. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the scan tool, and I'll list the codes on the screen as well. That way you can see if you're getting any of those. A lot of times it's an indication that your O2 sensors need to be replaced as well. Here's the codes that we're seeing. I'm going to cycle through these for you. And as we saw, these are all pertaining to the O2 sensors. So let's swap them out. We'll clear the codes, take the car for a drive, and then see how it's running after that. And another indication as well is the car will have a rough idle if your O2 sensors are bad. You also see poor performance as far as your efficiency with gas and things like that, because it throws out your fuel and air ratio. It can cause the engine to run rich or lean as well. So we're going to go ahead and get this done, and then that'll take care of the issue. Here's a close-up. This is your downstream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just take the O2 sensor socket. We'll put it on there with a ratchet. Should come off. Sometimes if you want to run the engine a little bit, let it heat up, but then you got to be careful that you don't get burned. You can also put some penetrating oil as well, let it sink in. I'm going to try to get it off first, then if not, we'll have to use one of those techniques. But let's put the socket and ratchet on it, see if we can get it off. Alright, sometimes if you tap on it, might have to get the breaker bar. Let's see here if I can push on it. Alright, we're going to get a breaker bar and try it with that. Alright, so we're going to put a breaker bar on it. And the thing is... Okay, so what I've done, couldn't get it to budge, so we put some penetrating oil on there. We're going to let that sit. We're going to move on to the two upstreams and let that soak in, and then we'll be back to full with this one. Alright, well this is our bank 2. We've got this one loose. This one came off fairly easy because this one was put on recently. Alright, so we got it loose, and now I should be able to get my hand up there and take it off by hand. There we go. Let's head up top. We'll undo the harness. So you can just pull it up. Here's the sensor, and the harness is right back here. So we'll just reach back to disconnect it. I don't know if I can get a good shot of it. And you can see here there's a little safety tab that I need to pop that out. Unfortunately, I can't show it, but I'm going to pop that out, and then we'll be able to slide the harness off. Alright, so we got it off, so now we can just pop this, slide this up, and just pull the harness. And there it is. And another thing, your upstreams are always going to be female connectors. Just FYI, the downstream is a male connector, but now we can just pull this out. Alright, now we'll put the new one in, and then we'll head off to the other side and do that one. I have the new one connected. We also went ahead and put that little locking tab. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to put the anti-seize compound here on the threads. Usually it'll come with that. If it doesn't, highly recommend getting it. That way you don't run into them getting stuck when it's time to replace them. So we're going to go ahead and put that on the threads, and then we'll be back underneath to screw it in. Alright, so we have it down here. You can see the gold on the threads. That's the anti-seize compound. We're going to go ahead and just put it in by hand, and then we'll take the socket to tighten it up. So I'm going to thread it by hand, then we'll be back to tighten it up with the socket. There we go. You don't want to over tighten it, but you do want it tight. That's it. So we let the penetrating oil sit, and it was still seized on. Unfortunately, I didn't film it, but I had to put a wrench, which is always a good idea. If you have one that's stuck, just grab a standard wrench, because then it's nice and rigid. Lock that on there, and I hit it with a 3-pound mallet, and we got it loose right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the socket back on it and get that one off. And then to see the harness, if we come back up here, follow this up, the harness is located right up. Let's see if we can get a shot of it up there. There you go. That's your harness. The harness is tucked right there. So this downstream sensor is very easy to do once you get it freed up if it's seized on like this one was. Take it off by hand now. This thing's been on there so long, this thing was seized on really good. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it, and then we'll put the new one on. There we go. And then let's look up here at the harness. We've got this little safety tab here, the lock that we need to pull out. So we'll pull that down. There we go. And then we just grab this little tab, lift that up. And that's it. And as you can see here, as we already mentioned before, but the downstream is a male connector. So that's the easy way to tell. Upstream is female, down is male. Well, we got it out. Let's put the anti-seize on the new one, put that in, and then move on to the bank 1 sensor and wrap this up. Here's our new one. We have the anti-seize on these threads as well. We'll go ahead and hand thread it in, and then tighten it up, and then we'll connect the harness. Okay, now we use the ratchet. There we go. Just tighten it on there, nice and good. Take that off, and then now we're ready to connect the harness. Go ahead and take this, just slide it in. Make sure you have the tab facing the side where it needs to lock. There we go. And then now all that we have to do, take this little locking piece, slide it right through. And there it is, locked in. So this one here is completely done. We'll move on to bank 1 and wrap it up. All right, so we're here on bank 1, driver's side. And as we saw already, there's your sensor. This one's very easy. Your harness and sensor are right here. So we're going to go ahead and get that off and put the new one on. This one's not bad at all. Take it off. There we go. And there's the harness that we saw. So the only thing that we need to do, here's the little, all the way up there is the little tab. So pull that out. And then now we just raise, let's see if I can get the camera in there better. Raise that little clip. And then, all right. Okay, so we got that one out. Now this one here does have the little locking pin that goes into, there's a little hole right there. So when you put the new one in, you want to clip that in. That way it's not dangling here. So that's out. Let's get the new one and put it in. All right, so let's tighten this here. There we go. That's the new one. Okay, let's go ahead and connect the harness up. Okay, so here's the harness. We're going to go ahead and, like I said, there's a little hole where we're going to lock it in, but first I'm going to connect it. So let's go ahead and connect this up, and then we'll put that little locking pin in there. And see there how I have it connected. We have it clipped back on here, so that way the harness is locked in place, all locked in. And if we come back here, everything is good to go, and that is the last one of the 3. So we're going to go ahead and clear the engine code, start it up, take it for a drive, and see how it runs. All right, so everything is done, so we're going to go ahead and erase all the codes. All right, all engine codes have been cleared. So we're going to go ahead now and take the car for a test drive and then check it again and see if everything's been corrected. Okay, so we're here in the car with Lewis. He's driving. We're going to go ahead and take it for a couple miles. So far, looking good. No check engine lights on. Car's running nice and smooth. Yep, make a left. And then you're just going to go straight through that stop sign, and then that's where you can open it up. Okay. And make sure everything's good, but so far, so good. And as you can see, no check engine light on. And we're going to check the computer when we get back anyway, see if there's any pending fault codes as well. All right, so we just got back from driving it, connected it to the computer. There were some other codes on there, but not pertaining to the O2 sensors. The check engine light is still out. So everything is working good as far as O2 sensor related. Okay, well that wraps up this video on how to replace the O2 sensors on a Pontiac Firebird. This is the 3.8 liter V6. As we talked at the beginning, it's 3 sensors. You have 2 upstream, 1 down. So I hope this video was informative for you. If you have any questions or comments, please send them in. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time.